What up, YouTube? This is Steven, and welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to do a compare and contrast analysis of the book and movie for The Girl on the Train. Alright, so of course I read the book and I watched the movie. I found out about the book through actually Half.com's recommendation list. I did a little research on the book and I said, hey, sounds like an interesting story. Why not, buy it and read it? So I did, and I enjoyed reading the story. I will say I did have one criticism of the book, which was that I felt that it was paced very slowly. Not extremely slowly, but a little slower than I would like, However, after seeing the movie, I am more appreciative of the pacing of the book for The Girl on the Train. And also, by the way, there will be major spoilers in this video for the book and the movie. There are going to be major spoilers, just in case you don't know. So, yeah, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. All right. All right. So, the book takes place, the story in the book for The Girl on the Train takes place in London, more or less. London and some, outlying towns, right? In the movie, it takes place in New York, in some outlying towns. And I was like, was that necessary? Was that a necessary change? I actually kind of liked that it was based in London. I thought that made it, to me, it kind of gave it a little more, a little more class, a little more sophistication, And also, it kind of worked into the plot, really, if you think about it. Because, London, as well as I think the UK in general, they receive a heavy amount of rain. And if you read the book, you know that the rain is very important. Because the rain is what unearths, it rains so much that it floods. And the floods cause the unearthing of Megan's remains. However, I don't think New York really experiences flooding, so it probably would sound a bit odd if they put it, attributed flooding to finding the body. But in the movie, they just show some rain falling on the body and uncovering it, and also it didn't really look like Tom did a really good job of burying the body in the movie. So yeah, that was one change that I was like, because I was like, wait a minute, this is New York, this New York, what? Like, I thought this was London, but they wound up mentioning it. But the thing is, like, the lead character in the movie, Rachel, has a British accent, but no one else does, just her. So I guess they wanted to trick us for some reason. They did that maybe to trick the people who read the book, so that they'll go and they won't be wise to what's about to happen. I don't know why I guess maybe it was easier to film in New York, or a place that looked like New York versus a place that looked like London, or London itself. Maybe it was just easier to do that. So yeah, I didn't like that change. Then, let's see, we are, they introduced us to Rachel, and they kind of go into Rachel's issues, kind of, they don't really go into depth, but I guess they give enough. But in the book, of course, they went into depth about her issues, and about her alcoholism, and her not being able to have a child, and her losing her husband leaving her for another woman that he was cheating on her with while they were still married. As well, you know, Rachel losing her job. Um, she lost her job because in the book she came to work drunk. Well, no, she took a lunch break and it lasted for like 3 hours. Then she came back to work drunk and she wind up costing them like business. She wind up messing up like a business deal or something and causing the company to lose out on a lot of money. So they fired her. In the movie, I don't think they really go into Megan's occupation, but she worked in public relations in the book. In the movie, they never specified where she worked. However, in the movie, they showed her drawing. But Rachel. I kind of get their names mixed up. My bad. But yeah, Rachel works in public relations, and Rachel, you know, in the book she works in public relations, and in the movie they don't really seem to specify her occupation or her field or anything. They just hint at it because Rachel likes to draw. And let's see, they also changed the numberings of the house too. They made it so the numberings, like the houses, like in the movie, the numbering seemed like I think one house was like 19 and one house was 15, versus in the book, I think one house was 15 and one house was 23. I think 23 was Rachel's old home. I don't know why they made that change. I don't like. Wasn't that something you could just keep the way it was? I don't think that would really have thrown things off. You know. But in the movie, they don't really go into depth, go into much details about Scott and Megan's relationship. They only just rely on, Rachel's thoughts about it through her looking at them on the train. But in the book, they go into details about their relationship, and also about Megan's past, and also about Megan and her husband and her lover, Kamal Abdick, who it seemed like they changed his character into like a Spanish-speaking character for some reason. I don't know why they did that. But in the book, they seem to. I think he was from like Serbia or Bosnia. Some kind of like, Middle Eastern-ish type of look. More of a swarthy type of look. Yeah, I don't know what they wanted. I don't know. They told in the movie he's all like yelling at Megan in Spanish. I'm like, where did that come from? Like, Kamal, his name isn't even Hispanic. I think his name might come from maybe Arabic or either just not Spanish, not of Spanish origin. So I don't know what was up with that. Let's see. As far as Anna is concerned, you get more details in the book, of course, about Anna. In the movie, they didn't really go into those details about how she was, she and Tom were going behind Rachel's back and having an affair. They didn't really go into those details. We know that it happened, but they didn't really go into depth about it. They didn't really show them having an affair like they did in the book, where they, go into details about it. So ultimately, I feel like these characters in the movie were not developed. So you don't really seem to be rooting for anyone. The only character that really had some development was Rachel, but she's the main character. But even her, character development wasn't the best, though. And because of that, I feel like you don't really have much of a connection with the people. It seems like you're sort of you know, not you know, you aren't given enough information to, feel for the characters, you know, about what Megan went through when her brother Ben died in a car accident on the A10, with an articulated lorry. You know, um, how Megan, ran away and, you know, turned, and participated in prostitution. How she got involved with Mac. How, her first daughter died. You know, and also that information, her daughter dying, was information that was released to the public in the book, but in the movie that never happened. you know and by the way, I'm kind of all over the place. I apologize for that, but it's just coming to me as I'm thinking about it, though. Also, Megan and Anna's relationship in the movie, it seemed like, Anna was like, hey, hi, like really happy to have Megan here. Versus in the book, she didn't really feel Megan like that. She kind of sensed that Megan didn't really care about her and her daughter Evie. Um, and when Megan says she got another job in the movie, she kind of, flipped out a little bit. But in the book, no one really no one really cared that much, you know. So I thought that was interesting. Um, Rachel's friend Kathy, you don't in the movie you don't really get any information. You don't get much information about Kathy. Um, you don't see her boyfriend Damien. You don't see Kathy trying to care and help Rachel through her issues. Not really. Um, you know, so Kathy is extremely, secondary. And of course she was secondary in the book, of course, but they did give more information about Kathy in the book. Scott, they left out some details about Scott. They, as you guys know, in the book, Rachel and Scott, like Scott invites Rachel over to his house, and then he confronts her about lying, and then he gets violent with Rachel. In the movie, Scott shows up, at Rachel's house, and she opens the door and walks in her home, and she notices Scott is sitting in the living room. So yeah, I thought they switched that around too, because in the book, Rachel unknowingly goes to Scott's house. In the movie, Scott shows up at Rachel's house, just sitting there, really creepy. But he didn't really get violent with her in the movie. But in the book, he did get violent with her, and he pulled her hair and then pulled her up the stairs and then threw her in the room and locked her in the room. And then that's when Rachel noticed the picture frame was broken. In the book where he throws the picture frame at Megan when she reveals, when she comes forward and, confesses and comes clean about everything. And he throws the picture frame at Megan, but it misses her and it hits the wall. That never was mentioned in the movie. That scene never happened in the movie, which I thought was a good scene to show some development and get you thinking, okay, was it Scott? Because, he's getting really violent, and he did get violent with Megan as well. He choked Megan. And, I think Megan wound up going upstairs, packing the bag, then unpacking the bag, packing the bag, then unpacking the bag, and then she left. And she was like, "Don't follow me, Scott. Don't follow me, or else I'm never coming back." And at that point, she really wants to talk with Tom. I'm not sure why. She should have learned her lesson from the get-go. She should have. Maybe it wasn't. But then again, Tom might be the father, so he should know. But that probably was a sign that you might not want to be, confessing all this stuff. Keep it real. Um, yeah. Um, in the movie, they hint, like, okay, in the book, it's the redheaded guy that keeps kind of like popping up when Rachel's on the train, and she remembers him, you know. And in the movie, that happens too, but his part in the movie doesn't really do anything. Versus in the book, where his part was, you know, he had a small part, but it was extremely important. That's the thing. The redheaded man, put things. He gave Rachel the information that she needed in order to piece together the night when she blacked out. She couldn't piece together totally everything until she spoke with him. And that's when she not only found out, you know, that it was actually Megan and Tom in the tunnel, not Anna and Tom in the tunnel, and also found out that Tom actually struck her. And he struck her and hit her and abused her, and knocked her down and knocked her out, you know. And thus, Rachel thinking over going back in her mind about, playing the scenes back in her mind about being, waking up bruised and stuff, and thinking, well, has that been going on the whole time? When, like, she, is drunk, he gets abusive with her? Yeah. However, in the movie, they changed that scene totally. And, like, the underpass was the thing. That was the thing. But in the movie, they didn't really emphasize that. And also, they changed the redheaded guy's role, and he didn't really do much. He just talked about, like, oh yeah, I saw you in the tunnel. And it seemed like they were building up to him being able to be that person to help Rachel, like, finally solve the puzzle, finally solve the mystery of what happened. But they built him up for it, but they didn't allow him to follow through with it. And that was disappointing. In the movie, a woman named, okay, Rachel was at a party for, like, Tom and, like, his boss, and they were having, like, some type of a get together, and Rachel gets, like, it plays out in Rachel's head as if Rachel caused drama at the party, and she threw things and, threw food at people and whatnot, and, Tom took her away, and that caused, all the drama caused at the party, caused Tom to lose his job. That's how it plays out in the movie. However, she sees this woman named Martha who was at the party. And also, sidebar, Martha is played by Lisa Kudrow, aka Phoebe from Friends. So that kind of took me out the moment. I was like, what's up, Phoebe? Like, what's up, Lisa? But she saw her on the train. Oddly enough, she oddly enough saw her on the train, and Rachel was wanted to apologize. She was like, I'm really sorry for doing what I did at the party. I'm sorry for throwing food at people and yelling and all this. And Martha's like, well, no, that never happened at the party. No, what happened at the party was you were feeling lightheaded, feeling sick, and I let you go upstairs and lie down. none of that other stuff ever happened. But Tom had told Rachel that um, all that was her. She did all that, and that he lost his job because of her. But he actually lost his job because I guess he kept sleeping around and sleeping with people at the job, and they fired him. So it seemed like they replaced the redheaded man's role with Martha's role. And I'm like, who Martha is? Like, I don't remember Martha in the book. Who's she? You know? So I'm like, oh, Martha. Okay. All right. um, let's see. Anna, I feel like Anna, oh yeah, well, before I get to Anna, I'll speak on Detective Riley and Detective Gaskill. They call him Detective Gaskin in the movie. So I think it's Detective Gaskin and is in the I think Riley isn't a detective, but like an assistant detective or something like that. I forget the name of it, but like his assistant, I guess. And in the book, Riley was younger. In the movie, Riley seems older. Riley is older. Yeah. Also, Rachel in the book was different. They mentioned that Rachel was fat in the book. In the movie, Rachel's thin. Yeah. But it's Hollywood, so that's gonna happen. But yeah, Rachel. Well, the detectives show up to Rachel's house at one point, and they're like, "Well, we heard that you were in the neighborhood when Megan showed up missing." And they're asking her these questions. And in the movie, like right then and there, they find out that Rachel has been unemployed for a year. However, Kathy finds out. Kathy finds out. When they're talking with Rachel at Kathy and Rachel's apartment, flat, whatever, duplex. So they find out about that in the movie, like right then and there. And Kathy's like, "Well, you've been unemployed for a year." But in the book, it doesn't play out like that. I forgot how it happened though. I think at one point or another, I don't know how it happened in the book, but I know it didn't happen like that. So yeah, I thought that was an interesting detail that they changed. I was like, oh, we just going right into it. That was part of my issue with the movie, was that they just seemed to throw a lot to it seemed like they didn't really pace the detailing well. They kind of threw a lot of details into a few scenes versus letting it slowly play out, which I was critical about in the while reading the book. I thought like, it seems like it's going a little too slow. You know what I'm saying? But I will say that I'll say that the movie made me appreciate the book more. And I definitely prefer the book to the movie. Let's see. I'm trying to think of other details that I could speak on. Also, some symbolism in the movie was changed. Some symbols were kept the same, of course, like the train, of course. But I'll say, well, they left out the symbolism on the broken photograph in the movie. And they downplayed the symbolism on the underpass, or I guess the underpass by, whatever, the underpass. And also in the movie, the underpass didn't really seem to be that big. It seemed to be like a one-way street too. I'm like, how can it don't seem like much can really pop off there, you know. Um, but okay, I guess something can pop off there apparently. Um, and let's see, they kept the corkscrew the same, you know, overall, yeah, except for the place where she got the corkscrew. In the movie, she got it off like the side of the wall. It was hanging up on the wall. But in the book, she got it from like she hid it in the drawer. And she remembered where she hid it because, of course, she used to live there, and she just hoped that Anna didn't move too much around. But it was still there, and she snuck it out of the drawer, you know, and ultimately stabbed Tom in the throat with it. And then Anna comes out of the house and she twists the corkscrew in further versus trying to get it out. Because I think the thing was like in the movie they emphasized it a lot, like, but I think the thing was like I think Tom might have been able to survive. Um, you know, but they got their story straight though. They were like, no, it was self defense, you know, self defense. And in the book, before they're split up and talk to the detective separately, they like Anna squeezes Rachel's either her hand or her arm, one of the two. She squeezes her hand or arm. And she felt like, you know, Rachel felt like that was Anna's way of telling her, like, we're bonded for life for because of this, you know, because of what we did, you know. And I think that is true. Um, and also in the book, they really, in the movie, they didn't go into the details, but in the book, they really kind of like unraveled some of like Tom's details. Like he was lying about things. You know, he was lying about his parents not talking to him. He was the one not talking to his parents because he stole money from his parents, and then he got mad at his dad for not remortgaging his house to lend him money. So he cut off his ties with his parents. But he told Anna that his parents wasn't talking to him because of, you know, Rachel, what he did to Rachel. And Rachel told Anna, she was like, no, I never met his parents. And she's like, 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 you know, Tom told me that his mother and father weren't speaking to him because, like, Tom wind up Tom wind up making a bad business deal and losing money. That's what he said, but that didn't happen. And you know, also I think the movie was a bit unnecessarily graphic. You know, it showed like Megan running naked outside in the forest at one point. Then it showed Megan having sex with Tom in the forest outside at one point. They did used to have sex in the forest, but they would do it in their car if they couldn't get a hotel. And that's if they couldn't get a hotel, you know. Um, so I thought that was kind of like, you know, not necessary, you know, a little, you know, slightly a little vulgar, you know. As well, I think, like, I don't know, it just seemed like a little bit like they didn't really put a lot of thought into that, you know. Um, as far as Kamal Abdick is concerned, he's Rachel's therapist, and he was sleeping with Rachel at one point, but he wound up breaking off that situation and not being Megan's therapist anymore. But he wound up, you know, talking with her when she came to his home, and she confided in him that, you know, she had a daughter, um, but she had um, accidentally um, caused her death. And also, she didn't. I don't even think her daughter was legally like registered because was her daughter was birthed inside of like Megan and Mac's home, not in the hospital. And Megan didn't do any of the, you know, um, things you do before you have a kid. You know, like go to the doctors, do Lamaze classes, etc. You know, uh, but ultimately, you know, I think I, thought of all the things I could really say at this moment. Um, I think so. Nothing really is. I think nothing's coming to me. I think I've spoken on all the things I could really speak on, or at least that I remember. You know, overall, I enjoyed the book more than the movie. I'm more appreciative of the book after seeing the movie, and I don't think the movie was done as well as it could have been done. I think that it changed some details that didn't need to be changed. I especially didn't like that they changed the details of the the redheaded guy, in his role, because that detail, I don't know why they changed it to Martha, and I'm like, who is Martha really? Um, yeah, I don't know why they did that. But the thing is, they kept hinting about this guy in the movie. They kept showing his face on occasions. They would show his face on the train, and they would like center in on him. Why would they not? And also he was following her too. You know, in the book, Rachel recognizes him. She does know him. Or know of him. Well, I guess she doesn't know of him, but she knows that she remembers seeing his face, and at first she thought he was the one who was violent towards her. Like he was the one that had caused her to, be bruised up the next day when she woke up. But no, he said he was the guy to, protect her or try to protect her. Um, he was trying to help her. And, he had asked her in the book, like, do you want me to go after him? And she was like, no. In the movie, he was like, do you need any help? And she was like, piss off or F off, and he left. So, yes, I didn't like that they changed that detail. I really, like, I don't know why. Because the thing is, they changed it, but also they didn't seem to really keep the pacing in. Well, they changed the details from the redheaded guy being the small but extremely important character to Martha, but they still seem to have they still built the redheaded guy up to be the important character, but didn't they built him up but didn't follow through with it. So I'm like, was this guy really necessary then? You know? And Martha, again, like, who is Martha? Who Martha is? Who you? And also the underpass. And like I felt like the underpass should have looked different. And also I think, I don't know, there was also um in the book they kept talking about like being on the train and seeing um like a bundle of sheets on the side. They didn't mention that in the movie. But yeah, you know. I was excited to see the movie though, because I was like, I really want to see how this plays out. And you know, a visual, audio visual format, aka a movie, a film. Um, and it's okay. It's okay. Um, I say if you have one choice or the other, and you're really looking for a good story, I would say read the book. But if you're looking for a good movie, this could be, you know, an option. You could consider this as an option for a good movie. um, but yeah, yeah. So, thanks a lot for watching, you guys. Feel free to comment. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to give me a thumbs up. Your feedback and support are extremely appreciated and extremely valued. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now. And, oh yeah, I will mention that after in the book, after the everything happened, and after Tom died, the news wound up publishing some stories and digging into his past, and they also revealed more information about Scott's lies. Like he wasn't a part, he never served in the army. Um, let's see, there's some other things they mentioned too, but pretty much it just painted Scott as not Scott, Tom. I'm sorry, I get their names mixed up. I'm talking about Tom. But yeah, after Tom dies, the media winds up, doing their research and digging through his past or whatever, and they wind up figuring or finding out information. Basically all the lies he told. They didn't mention that in the movie. They didn't mention that. So I'm like, I appreciate the faster pace of the movie, but I don't appreciate the lack of details because I think the details were and are significant, and I think I've talked about pretty much every character. Let's see, I talked about Kathy, Scott, Megan, Anna, Tom, Kamal, Kathy. I think I already mentioned Kathy. Rachel, redheaded dude who I don't think. Did we ever find out his name in the book? I don't know. But the redheaded dude was kind of like a drunk too in the book, though. That's the thing, too. But in the movie, he wasn't like that. He wasn't a drunk. He drank, but they didn't show him being drunk. Yeah. So I think I pretty much spoke on the characters, and spoke on the characters, spoke on the symbolism, spoke on the plot. The plot is pretty much the same, except I just felt like it played out much better in the book. I'm sorry to be like a broken record, but yeah. One more detail that the movie didn't quite show. They hinted at it, but they didn't go there though. Rachel and Scott, Scott comes over to Rachel's house in order to get away from the press and from people hounding him. And he goes to her house and they're sitting in the living room, but Kathy shows up and Rachel hides Scott upstairs in her room because she doesn't want Kathy to know that he's here, because she doesn't have to go through an explanation or anything. But that night, Scott and Rachel sleep together. In the movie, that doesn't really happen. They seem to kind of hint at it, but it didn't happen because Scott has to, in the movie, he has said something to the effect of the press saying we are sleeping together when he got mad at her for lying to him that she said she knew Megan, and she was like, well, he was like, oh, as if I would ever sleep with you or something like that. But in the book, um, it they did sleep together. But I don't know why they left that out in the movie, though. You know, I guess they thought it wasn't necessary, maybe? I don't know. But let me bring this video to an end. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Adios and goodbye for now.